On the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly in New York in September, United States President Joe Biden sat down with the leaders of 3 Pacific Island nations, the President of the Marshall Islands, Palau, and the Federated States of Micronesia.
That was an important meeting because it shored up America's commitment to the freely associated states.
These 3 countries have unique agreements with the US, known as the Compacts of Free Association, which gives the US military uninhibited access to their territories in exchange for money to keep the countries functioning.
And this could be important because the United States has to consider the types of advantages it might have in a potential future war against China.
Countering China's might in the Pacific region has been a big part of the Biden administration's Pacific strategy. It signed the US-Pacific Partnership, plus a bilateral security pact with PNG, and it bolstered diplomatic ties across the region, all in the name of enhancing regional security.
One of the things that the president asked me to do, working with a strong team across the U.S. government, is to up our game in the Pacific.
That New York meeting saw the US recommit to cooperation on climate change and sea level rise.
A huge part of what we're trying to do is make clear that our agenda is broad and deep, and it's meant to address the specific concerns of the peoples of the Pacific.
The government has been keen to reassure Pacific nations that it has its back, no matter the results of the November election.
The United States is committed to ensuring the Indo-Pacific region that is free, open, prosperous, and secure.
But on the issue of climate change, many in the Pacific will be wondering if they can be trusted.
I hear these people talking about global warming, and you'll have more seafront property, right, if that happens. I said, is that good or bad?
Certainly in the event of a Trump administration, we could expect to see a withdrawal, an almost complete withdrawal of any US commitments to climate action.
The previous Trump administration dismantled major climate policies, including pulling the US out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Biden rejoined on day 1 of his presidency, but Trump looks poised to throw the US overboard once again if he wins.
The proposed Republican Party platform says nothing about promoting green energy, just they want to drill, baby, drill.
We will drill, baby, drill.
Other clues can be found in Project 2025, a 900-page policy document widely seen as the blueprint for the next Republican presidency.
This is Project 2025.
Project 2025.
Project 2025.
It calls for an end to the war on coal and gas and more direct action against China.
There are recommendations, for example, in Project 2025 that the United States move significant numbers of personnel, of military personnel from Europe into the Indo-Pacific in order to, quote unquote, deter China. And so certainly there could be an increased US footprint in the Pacific, but that would be almost entirely military and wouldn't be focused on the real security concerns of the Pacific, which of course are focused on climate change.
The Pacific is already the stage for a great power rivalry between the US and China, but is there a risk tensions could spill over?
Trump's rhetoric around China is very aggressive, especially around economic sanctions, and is very unpredictable. So I certainly don't think it's inevitable that tensions will increase under either a Harris or a Trump administration, but unnecessary escalation of tensions is very high.
A Trump presidency could see America's role in the world change, but Mr. Grossman doesn't expect major changes in the US policy towards the Pacific.
The Trump administration actually began the process of renewing the Compacts of Free Association. President Trump is actually the first sitting president to sit down with all 3 leaders at the same time at the White House. So there's certainly precedent for Trump continuing to improve these relationships.
And what has Vice President Kamala Harris said about the Pacific? Well, not much.
It's actually, I think, harder to tell with Harris. I expected we would see largely a continuation of the Biden administration's policies.
What we have heard from her on the Indo-Pacific is very consistent with the Biden administration's approach, and for that matter, for the Trump administration's approach.
US polling shows Ms. Harris is more popular among Asian and Pacific Island voters.
I would say it's a good split. People support
Trump's platform, we as a people, as Pacific Islanders, come from very conservative cultures in the island nations back in the Pacific.
Mr. Amulvai is a Democrat and runs a Pacific Islanders for Harris Facebook page. Born in American Samoa, his family migrated to California in 2007. But Mr. Amulvai now fears Pacific Islander immigrants he knows are at risk.
I know there's a big portion of us that have come here to the mainland and have overstayed.
We're going to have the largest deportation in the history of our country.
So they'd certainly be in the first wave of people that Trump and his campaign would be looking to root out, as they say.
It's an historically tight election, and even though American Pacific Islanders make up just 0.5% of the population, both campaigns are courting their vote.
She's here tonight, Tulsi Gabbard.
Former Democrat Tulsi Gabbard was the first Samoan-American congresswoman. She's since switched sides and is campaigning with Mr. Trump in battleground states for the Pacific vote.
Aloha! Talapalava!
In Nevada, the pair campaigned at an event specifically targeting Pacific Islanders.
Members of our great Asian American and Pacific Islander community, many of whom are here today. You are the greatest people, hardworking people, and we're going to take care of you. We're going to take care of you. You're going to take care of us.
Despite Trump's effort to win over Pacific voters, Mr. Amulvai feels threatened at the prospect of his return to office.
The biggest thing that we as youth have been trying to convey to those that are elders that we know support the Trump candidacy as a minority and a person of color, and also a gay man. When someone like Trump's agenda is put in place, it certainly is a threat to the livelihoods and lifestyles of many Americans.